know, they are compliments of the season, and it's indeed my pleasure to know you are there joining us on another fresh edition of our discussion program, Focus Live. Focus Live on Ogtv. My name is Kayode Taiwo, your anchor on this program, and today we are continuing from our discussion last week, and that is looking at year 2021 in retrospect. We shall look at some issues, some developments and all of that in Nigeria, Africa, the global space, as much as the time will allow us on this program. And the reason being that we just really need to know where we are coming from so that we can project adequately for where we're going. And that's looking at 2022 and beyond. In the studio with me right now, I have an analyst who is also a specialist doctor. But on this program today, I will simply refer to him as a public affairs analyst, Dr. Ebenezer Nkom. It's my pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Taiwo, and compliments of the season for the whole people of Ogun State and diaspora and beyond. Compliments of the season, and wishing all of us a prosperous new year.
I also say compliments to you, Doctor. It's nice having you join us. Well, in the course of this program, we shall have our other guests coming in. We all know that it's Yuletide and so many activities by people. So we hope to have our other guests joining us on the program very shortly. But let's just kickstart this program with this health-related issue. Doctor, at the beginning of this year, we had some hopes that by the end of 2021, what is still around us as perennial, that is the issue of COVID-19, is still here with us. We came into 2021 with very high hopes that perhaps we will have done with this maybe by the middle or the third quarter or thereabout, but it's still with us. Another wave is also coming up. Where did we really got it wrong globally in terms of tackling this COVID pandemic?
Thank you very much, the moderator. By the beginning of this year, and with the introduction of vaccines, at least the three major ones, we thought that by this time of this year, we should be looking at COVID, the pandemic, from a rear mirror, as if we are driving. But it's unfortunate that when it's about to die, or when we're about to shout to Huru, when we are going to declare victory, it comes up again, and we start running and running and running again. It's a pity that it had to be this way. But if you know viruses, especially the coronavirus, is capable of mutations. And what we are battling with now is the issue of mutations. You see, when a lot of people came to cook the soup of COVID, it sowed doubts in the minds of people. I remember our own pastors, one of them, I will not mention his name, it was due to 5G network. And his followers believed it. And it was the Antichrist, the 666, all sorts of things. And then, to make matters worse, we had an American president, the president of the whole world, whether we like it or not, who played Kalu Kalu. I use the word Kalu Kalu, yes, hoping that people understand what I mean by that, with the pandemic, until even when he had himself, he contracted the disease, he still didn't take it seriously, although he was pouring in a lot of money into the manufacturing of vaccines, discovery of vaccines. And we had, so when the vaccine now came up, and everybody wanted to see a magic thing, but not everything in life is magic. So there were some failures, some complications, and other. Oh, and people now say we said it, and not to talk of that, the conspiracy theorists had a field day in a cyberspace. Oh, they are putting in chips. Oh, they are doing this. They want to clear humanity. All sorts of things, and it was always very funny to me. So the presidents want to kill themselves, or perhaps they didn't have the same vaccines we had. But all the same, you see, those sowed the seed in the minds of people. And I'm sure that the coronavirus was so happy about that, if it's a human being, because it had time to now mutate. And what we are having now is the result of that. Because if all of us had had it, oh, let's not forget about the politics of vaccines. Yeah. How the very rich nations hoarded it, didn't roll it out and all that. And how we, the poor nations, were not even prepared because our healthcare delivery system wasn't programmed for such thing, for such technological leap, having temperature minus 80 and all that, to keep some of these vaccines. So it festered on, and the virus had the opportunity to mutate, and that is what you're having, the Omicron, the Alpha, Delta, and all the variants. And if we don't take time, we are going to have another mutation, because that's what happens with viruses. They keep on mutating and mutating. That is it. If we are not allowed conspiracy theories to come in, if we are all accepted, the vaccines like measles vaccines, like smallpox vaccines, like tuberculosis vaccines, I think we wouldn't have been where we are.
Okay. Now, but in the course of year 2021, yes, I find it a little bit disturbing, the kind of silence that came from China in particular. At least going by the records we have, all of this of the COVID had some origin from China. But this year, particularly this 2021, we had almost nothing from China in terms of this COVID-19, in terms of talking about vaccine development, whether they have developed theirs or not, we don't know, and all of that. Are you not also concerned that what should a country where all indications pointed to as the source of the global problem, keeping quiet?
You see, the origin of COVID is still contentious. If you go to China and say that, they'll be very upset with you. Okay. And the Western world, they say it's from China. I will, in view of the world politics, yes, I will not swing to any of the sides, because I don't trust the Americans, I don't trust Western civilization, and also I don't trust China to that extent. It could have been from either way. China says it's not from us, and nobody has come out to give us evidence, concrete evidence that it actually originated from China. But even if it came from China, the type of insult the Western world gave to China, it's enough for them to keep quiet. Take care of themselves. They had their own vaccines, which they were using. But we were more interested in insulting, abusing, and denigrating them, rather than look at the main issue. And we lost a lot of friendship from some sessions. We lost time, too. And that is why China is keeping quiet and being very careful what they say, so that you will not say it is them. Thank God the latest mutation is not from China. I would have said, oh, we said it. And also, thank God, it's not from Africa, because we could have been shut off. I'm very, very sure. What has happened in the last part of this year, where they shut the doors, oh, don't fly to Africa, don't do this and all that. Meanwhile, the thing was already in their backyard and germinating there. We could have been in soup. Thank God for that they didn't say it's from Africa, because we wouldn't have had any way to say, no, they didn't come from us and all that. So I don't say China is behaving true to type. They are keeping quiet. They are doing what they're supposed to do. They're taking all the precautions they have in their cities. Some of their cities have had lockdowns now and all that, so they're keeping quiet. At least they're not calling them now. This mutant is not from China, and so we should leave China alone.
All right, but okay. Let's before we move to other sectors, let's just quickly look at this aspect of this pandemic, which has to do with movement of people. You agree that in Europe, for the past few years now, the migration of people from some of the troubled Arab countries across Europe has been there and all of that. But despite this pandemic, do you think that the government of some of these European countries also handled the situation very well? Like talk about Germany and the rest of them, that they had to develop different kinds of policies on movements, migration and all of that in their country. The Europe and the globe fare well in terms of management of migration in 2021?
Yeah, I have a different view,
Okay.
on the issue of this migration, especially into Europe and the Americas.
All right.
Let's look at it. If you look at the major migrations in Europe, it is from the Arab countries
Yes.
to Europe. Abi? This is the Arab world does not want to embrace what I would call Western civilization. They claim it is corrupt. They claim they do all sorts of things. It's against their religion. Abi, what are you looking for in their country? You see, I've always found that paradox. People, we gloss over it. Yes, America is corrupt. Britain is, Europe is this and all that. Things are not working. You are not worshiping the same God. They are doing this one. And you are still going to their country, stay in the country. How come they are not migrating to Saudi Arabia? I've always asked myself that question. How come they are not migrating to Saudi Arabia? How come they are not migrating to Iran? How come they are not going to their trouble spots which they have created by themselves, like Iraq, Iran, Yemen, and all that? Why are you going to infidel country? That is my own view on this. So for those people to take them in, they are very benevolent. If it was Africa on the other side, I'm sure we would not allow any of them. We would have been abusing them. Don't come into our country and all that. But in terms of humanity, let us go down to that level of humanity that, well, yes. Don't forget that even the issue of migration is tied to politics. It's tied to economy. And when you have this uncontrolled immigration, it's going to affect the economy, it's going to affect the infrastructure, it's going to job creation and all that. Some of those countries have planned themselves. This is our education, this is our hospital, this is what they're going to do, how we are going to. Then we now have mass movement from nowhere. And you expect them to open their doors. That is being too far. I think within the best of the economy, the politics, Angela Merkel party nearly lost because of the immigration policy in Germany. Why? Why should that happen? Because you want to help people. And also, look at what is happening in France. There is Zemmour now is coming out in France, which is totally antithetical to immigration. And the way it is going, the type of crowd is pulling, I won't be surprised that Macron will be in very big trouble. So these are so you don't look at it, they have their own issues. They have their own politics. They have their own economy to look after. For goodness sake, don't bring your wahala. If you are staying in your country, go back to your country. That's why I believe that, well, some of them are good. They should have told them to go back to their countries. Go and sort out your country. Other people died for those countries to be what you are now. You now go down there. Some of them have, when they now go there, they form enclave. They don't want to integrate. They don't want to listen to this thing. Oh, this is our own. Then why don't you go back to your country and do whatever you want to do? Why are you coming to Europe? Why are you going to the US, UK, and all that? That's why I look at it. I have a different opinion on that.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's an opinion you have. Okay, that much for the other side there. But what about the Africans also? Because though in Africa, in our own case, it's different. These ones are not war situations that led them out of their countries and all of. But we are fond of those who are privileged in Nigeria, in Africa, traveling abroad and all of that. And I imagine if the policy of staying back in your country to sort out yourself is also applied on Africa, will that actually truly positively affect us positively in Africa?
This is the way, you see, the one of Africa were economic migrants. I've seen some people, Ghanaians, Nigerians, swimming the Mediterranean, and I started wondering what the heck is wrong with these guys. And when they ask them, when they interview, they say I will spend $5,000. If you use $5,000 in Ghana, in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and all that, that would be a lot of money. So you can't understand, but you might tell me that there's freedom of movement, but they are not going through it the right way. Those countries are not saying should not come. But if you are coming, come through their airports, come through visa, this thing and all that. That's what they are saying. But we just want to go down there, oh, I'm being persecuted. How can someone from Nigeria say I'm being persecuted? Some of them, you start wondering, by who you start wondering? They don't look familiar, they don't look anything. So who is persecuting you and all that? So you see, those are the things which I have problems with. But most of them are economic migrants. Most of those are people who have this belief that the grass is greener on the other side of the lot. Simple. Yes, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Sudan, and all that. It still goes back to the same thing. Sit back in your country and sort out those problems.
Yeah. All right. Now, okay. Let's shift to the global security situation now for 2021. If we look at 2021, with the exception of a few African countries and maybe the what I would call sporadic that usually happen between Israel and Palestine. It's like 2021 is more with global peace.
Yeah, there's there's quietness in the Middle East
in the Middle and generally.
Yes.
Could that also be as a result of the global health pandemic we are battling with, that people don't even, when you are trying to survive from the health perspective, you can't be thinking of carrying guns again.
Yeah, apart from that, I think they are getting tired themselves, both sides, Israel and Palestine. People are beginning to be disinterested in whatever they say, and they are beginning to know that this will not help us anywhere. They are beginning to think that, well, it's not, they don't have sympathy anymore. The sympathy is no more, whether Israeli fighting and all that, Golan Heights, and you are occupying the West Bank and all that. The world has more serious thing to do than to waste their energy, sympathy on the Arab-Israeli war, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It's getting too long. Since 1948, if they cannot find a way of sorting out themselves, then so be it. Continue fighting there. Please, we have the world economy is there. The world, all sorts of things are happening. And if they don't take time, maybe a forgotten war as time goes on. And I'm sure they themselves are beginning to know that it doesn't take them anywhere. I think Joy, sitting down to discuss, I'm sure we're more profitable than we now find a bombing and destructions of cities. After that one, you now beg these same people to give you money to rebuild their city. It makes no sense to me. So that's why I'm thinking that apart from the pandemic, they are now becoming wary. I'm sure that even the younger generation, they are beginning to ask questions. Other people are going to school. We are busy fighting, throwing stones and all that. I think as time goes on, we will find out that it is better for us to sit down and take half bread or quarter bread rather than not taking anything. I think that is it. Nobody is really interested again. Even all the peace treaties have collapsed. Yes, even the latest one by Trump and his in-law has collapsed. So what do you want again? What do you want us to do? Again, if the two of them cannot sit down, because I believe that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict would be sorted out by Israel and Palestine.
Not by external
Not by any external force, not by American meddling inside, not by Europe or whatever. They themselves have to say, look, we are the people in the front line. We are the people whose cities are being destroyed, not America, not Europe. Let us find a way of sorting out this problem.
All right, okay. We'll still discuss more on the global peace and security, but we'll take a short break. And by the time we come back, one of our guests will be joining us, and we'll take it up from there. We are still looking at the global security at this point in 2021. It's still Focus Live. Don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
Fellow Nigerians, do you know that constituency projects are actually your projects? Do you know that constituency projects are funded by the federal government? Do you know that you can track release of constituency project funds for projects located in your constituency and follow up to know how they have been executed? Constituency projects happen because government does not want to leave any community out in development efforts. You have a responsibility to know what constituency project has been planned for your community, how much has been allocated for it, and whether value for money has been delivered. Take ownership of constituency projects located in your community. Protect them because they belong to you. Government knows about your needs and is planning for you. Government needs your help to ensure quality delivery. Know that constituency projects are actually your projects. Protect your constituency project. My constituency, my project.
For information on funds allocated to projects in your constituency, call 0800 2255 4272.
This message is from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the National Orientation Agency.
Trees are an important component of our ecosystem. They perform various functions like providing oxygen, conservation of water, preserving the soil, and support wildlife. Illegal felling of trees is against the law. Anyone caught will face the wrath of the law. Also, it can lead to deforestation, which in turn contributes to global warming. Therefore, every tree felled needs to be replaced by planting another 5 in its place. Let us protect our world. Stop illegal felling of trees and plant at least 1 tree a day.
Welcome back. It's still focused live on Ogtv, and we have joining myself and Dr. Unkom in the house. We have Mr. Ayuade Shorunke. It's a pleasure having you join us on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right. Before your arrival, we actually looked at issues relating to global health and the pandemic and all of that. You met us discussing global peace and conflicts. And I don't know what's your own take on. I am of the opinion that 2021 we have less of the usual confrontations, wars here and there and all of that, with the exception of very few countries. I don't know whether you agree with that or not.
To a large extent, I agree. And I think the pandemic, to a large extent, must have contributed to that. The pandemic kept a lot of people indoors. Even beyond that, a lot of countries lost a lot of money. So even the resources that you want to deploy into conflict or into fighting is really not there. So you had so much to use your resources for that to now start using the resources to buy guns and to buy weapons to fight other nations. So I think the pandemic kind of took attention away from a lot of other things, even including conflicts. So I think to a large extent that must have contributed to the less conflict that we had, global conflicts that we had in 2021. But that does not mean that many of these unresolved conflicts are not there.
Okay.
By the time we come back to, because the wounds are still there, the hurts are still there, and to a large extent, I agree with a lot of things that Dr. Unkom said. He mentioned about the fact that a lot of us have to now withdraw, and the people that are really involved in the conflict should sit down and talk about the conflict and resolve it. But I believe that as long as we continue to have these global injustices, it's going to be difficult for even people to sit down on the table of brotherhood. It's easy for me to resolve a conflict with somebody that I'm fighting with when I'm able to accept my wrong. He is able to accept his wrong. Okay. And we are able to to shift and agree that, okay, going forward, let's take this step so that we can improve on our relationship. But in the situation I keep saying that what I've done wrong is right. Okay. The other person will also want to stick to his gun, and I think that is where even many of the countries that have tried to intervene, to a large extent, I have not seen them get involved in the justice aspect of resolving the conflict. I'm not saying that you should punish people, but at least let people know that, sorry, you are wrong there.
Okay.
You are wrong there. And always in a conflict, it's always difficult for you not to find wrong on both sides.
That's true.
So if you're able to point out the wrong on both sides, it will be easy for somebody to now pull down his shoulder and say, okay, yes, I was also wrong. Okay, let's find a way of resolving it. So as long as we still kind of manipulate that area and we are not sincere with it, by the time the pandemic is gone, even though doctors will tell us that this thing is here, we're likely going to live with it as we are living with malaria. So, but at least we are now learning how to manage it the more, day after day. So by the time we're able to conquer COVID-19 and people begin to now manage it and we can live even with it, I can believe that there is likely that the conflict will come back again.
No, I don't wish that we come back to conflicts. Anyway, Doctor, now we have actually made some assessment of global peace, but let's come a little bit back home here and look at the issue of security in Nigeria itself in 2021. Are we better off than 2020? And if we are not, what do you think we are really missing? What are we not doing right, or what are we not doing at all?
I think we are better off in terms of national security compared to 2020. And I look at it this way, now the Boko Haram issue is now going down. Once upon a time, they were occupying a large chunk of the north, and then we fought. And then, although it was haphazard in fighting, tackling it, then the Islamic, the ISWAP, the West African also group, which came in from Mali, from Burkina Faso and all that, came to Nigeria and then started fighting to, at a point we didn't know which one was which again. Is it Boko Haram or ISWAP and all that? But one thing is paramount, that we were never prepared for what came up in the last 3, 4, 5, 10 years. When Gaddafi, even before Gaddafi died, I remember one of his quotes, one of his famous sayings. He said that, look, America wants me out of power. Up till now, I still don't understand why they wanted Gaddafi out, if I may digress a bit. I still, because when Gaddafi was there, they were paying salaries, schools were free, everything was free, light was free, education was free, they were paying everything. So what is it they wanted? Or they wanted democracy. Also, you see, that nebulous concept called democracy. Yes, not that he was a dictator. Yes, but it wasn't as, I compared to now, if they want to be sincere to themselves, I think they will regret it, that they could have allowed this man to stay. Now, he sat on it, on a volcano for us, for the West African sub-region and Africa, and even the export of what do you call it, terrorism. As soon as Gaddafi left and all his armament, nobody could take care of it. America was not thinking of that. The Europe was not thinking of that. As soon as the man left, so those things, guns, ammunition, disappeared into the Sahara. And then, of course, they had to use it. And that is why we are having all, because these people I don't think they have so much money, but the armament Gaddafi had came into use. And Gaddafi said, the moment I leave, he said that thing, but you see, in the Western press, it's not emphasized. He said, when I leave, you will do no peace in West Africa. He said, because the people I'm controlling will come in to terrorize, and that's what we are seeing. So we never knew that. Nigeria was not thinking in that angle. What we were thinking was the Muslim-Christian infighting. Yes, it's good. Muslims are fighting Muslim Christians. Yes, we are infidel and all that. We forgot the larger picture, the political, the geopolitics, and what happened. And that's why I said we are caught unawares when the Boko Haram issue started festering and all that. Instead of it to go inside and deal with it decisively, we brought in all sorts of sentiments, ethnic sentiments, religious sentiments, political sentiments, and all that. And we were all joking and drinking wine when our house was on fire. By the time we realized what was that, in fact, it got up to a point some people were saying the president is supporting them, president giving guns and to them to fight. And I was, I was surprised. About, is it last week when the president went to Bono and
Oh,
there was
okay.
explosions around him and all that. So now it just struck me. So this man, these people were now Buhari was supporting.
They want to eliminate
the man. They were so much. So can you see the paradox? How we looked. We didn't think well. But now that we are now come to see that nobody, whether you're Christian, you're Muslim, whatever you are not being exempted. We are now sitting up, and that's why the gains we are having now. The thing has now moved to the Sokoto Caliphate side area of it, the northwest, and we know now everybody say, oh, now call them what do you call it? Declare them terrorists. Or they are no more our brothers and sisters again. Declare them terrorists. So these are the things we are now beginning to see, changing mentality of what those things are, and I'm sure that is what is helping us. That we are now going to say this is not good for anybody. Let's go after it. I think that is what is making it look better that way.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Shurunke. Yeah. Now, in the year 2021, just like Doctor concluded now, many Nigerians raised issues with these so-called bandits, that they should be called terrorists because what they are doing is even worse than what the terrorists are doing, the Boko Haram and all of that. And it's a major issue in 2021. If you look at it from the damage those guys have done, at a point in time, it was reported that the space they occupy in Niger State is the size of about 2 states in the east. So that means a very large part of that state is ungoverned. Now, if you look at all of this in 2021, are we getting better, moving into 2022?
I may want to disagree a bit with
Doctor.
He's
always at home with that.
That we are getting better. The only area that I think we are getting better is in the area of funding.
Okay.
We have never funded our security the way we have done in recent times. But whether those funding is commensurate to the result that we are getting is a different ball game. And that is why I said I want to disagree a little. The government, definitely they've spent so much. A lot has gone into training of our men. A lot have gone into, equipping them. But we are not seeing equivalent results from those security agents. And that tells me that our problem is not just funding. It's beyond funding. And which I think is the area the government itself needs to sit down and look at. While Doctor was talking, something just struck my mind. And it's not just about security. What is the level of our researches?
Okay.
What are we doing about the results? It's not that researches are not being done. Researches are being done. But is anybody looking at the result of those researches? In the last 10 years, there have been a lot of research in security. Has anybody in government taken time to sit down and look at the recommendation of those researches? I think this is our problem. If we have people who are taking decisions, making policies, and they are not looking at the intellectual research into what we have done in the past to improve on it as we go forward, we will continue to get the kind of results that we're getting. We have a system. Everybody keeps calling on the president, sack the security chiefs, sack the security chiefs. And it looks like a popular call. But has anybody sat down to ask, what is the value of the current chief of army staff that we're going to sack?
Okay.
What is the investment of the government in him and his colleagues in that bracket that is sacking might lead to their exit from the military? In other words, all the experience, all the training that they've gotten that they are supposed to impart, we are taking them out of the system and we are bringing in new blood. Yes, maybe we need new ideas. Maybe there is a disconnect between the young officers and the old officers. Maybe that is why we are having this kind of situation. So that's why I'm beginning to look at it that it's beyond, yes, we have spent so much, but there are critical issues that are not making those funding effective that I think the government needs to begin to look at. Okay, initially we were looking at the Northeast, but currently now all over the country. there's insecurity. Yes, in the Northeast it was Boko Haram, but now banditry has become, kidnapping has become a huge business in Nigeria that you don't even know those who are benefiting from it. You don't know whether the security agents are benefiting.
Like organized crime.
It looks so organized. At least we've heard reports whereby people who are kidnapped will be told by their kidnappers that everywhere you have gone to, we know. How did they get the information? That somebody went to report that there's a kidnapping to the security agents. We've seen situations whereby security forces are fighting over, holding information because they also don't trust themselves in the same country. So it's a major, it's not just about the funding. I think we have addressed the funding majorly. We have spent so much. Whether many of those money have been inflated away, let's forget. The fact is that the government has put so much money in funding security. So we need to look beyond those funding now and begin to address those issues that are not making the funding to be effective so that we can get a better result.
All right. Now, a very thorough analysis we got from both your submissions. And okay, let's just look at another aspect of our national life now. A little bit of politics this time around. And well, it's been a little bit quiet in the country for this year, except maybe I think one state election, and maybe by election into some few Senate positions. But beyond that, the one that came in the last quarter of the year is the issue of electoral reform bill. And the major attribute of that is this issue of direct or not direct and all of that. We are moving into 2022, that Nigeria will be upbeat, starting with the election in Ondo State, and maybe one or two other states. Then by early 2023, it's going to be national elections. Now, have we done well in 2021? Let's start from there. And this electoral bill that is already still not yet sorted out between the presidency and National Assembly, do you see this as affecting democracy going into 2022?
Absolutely. I don't. Yes, absolutely. Nothing is not going to affect any democratic. Look, since 1999 we've had elections.
Yes.
And I don't see how one or two issues, electoral acts, in the electoral act will make us not to have an election. Let's put it this way: Nigerians are people who go into mass frenzy, as he rightly said, at the drop of a hat, mass frenzy. Or electoral act will make us have good election. Primaries will do this, and all as a bar. So when you now have direct primaries, the roads will be good. We will use our money well. We are talking as if we are talking to imbeciles and all that. You see, I always, and these are things discussed by intellectuals, what we call intellectuals. Let's look at the issue, the core issue in the so-called electoral imbroglio. You want to have all parties should have direct primaries. And I have, even before I congratulate the president for not giving in to that blackmail. The president said, no, that's my own view, Dr. Nkom. I don't see how that will solve our problem. For goodness sake, there's plurality of parties. You decide to cook your soup, you decide to cook your own. How I want to cook it, shouldn't be anybody's business. But what we want is that when we are going to have an election, bring in your flag bearer. Period. And I keep on asking this question or drawing people's attention to this. The UPN, Unity Party of Nigeria, which was headed by Chief Obafemi, never had direct primaries. And we still keep on referring to UPN as one of the best run parties. Best run parties. And Awolowo was asked that question. I remember, as a medical student, why don't you have primaries? He said, look, primaries always creates confusion. This is Africa. He says it creates confusion. And when we do that, we have to have scattering of the parties. We can even start from our own state. What created the palaver of 2 or 3 years ago? It was the issue of primaries and all that. Yes. That was the issue, direct, indirect, whatever and all that. And the way people are talking of this thing, I start wondering, am I not a Nigerian again? Oh, direct primaries will bring out young men. I said, I laugh. Let me crack this joke. If you allow Nigerians to go into heaven, they will corrupt it. So what is direct primaries? They cannot easily corrupt anyone. Let the parties bring out who they want and all that. If you are talking of the dominant people say, oh, you won't allow young men. Young men, young women, go to other parties, forget about APC and PDP. Go to Swine Party, Bird Party, Fish. There are other parties like that, about 95 of them. Go there and do whatever I want to do. But we are all talking of PDP and APC as all the this. So I don't think, I think they were just a storm in a teacup, and they themselves knew it wouldn't fly. But they just wanted to hit up the polity to show that they are doing something. That was, to me, very, very undemocratic. Very undemocratic.
All right. Now, if the argument of National Assembly is about the direct primaries would allow more people of fresh and all of that, the rumor has been that, or the argument from the other side is that the National Assembly is targeting the governors, that they don't want governors to, but direct or indirect, which one is not going to be cost effective? Because the issue is that if you say you are targeting the governor, the governors also still have the aids. They have all their aids, they have the money, they have everything. So whether it is direct or, do you really see this as the issue for our democracy?
I think the greatest problem that our democracy has is that more often than not, we have the players, while they claim to serve the people, they find a way of putting their interest as a sandwich in between the...
Exactly.
And when we now get the result, we realize at the end of the day, they are really not for us. They're actually for themselves. This issue of direct primaries or no direct primaries, you can have direct primaries if there is sincerity, you get the best of the best to contest. You can have indirect primaries and you will get the worst of the worst as candidates. Let me try and look at it. Thank God that Dr. Uncle mentioned the UPN. Awolowo was always looking for the best. Simple. He will weigh you, he will check you. So UPN will present somebody that will be intellectually sound to deliver. And that is the first, when you want to engage people in your establishment, you look at their intellectual ability before you test their practical ability. So you engage them, you see what they can offer first before you engage them. And that is what Awolowo does, which is a global norm for anybody to enter a gate of being engaged. And that direct primaries, if our leaders, if our political leaders are sincere, and they are presenting their best of, not giving us two evils to vote for. I mean, when you present, you have 30 parties, and the 30 parties are presenting 30 devils for Nigerians to vote for. Whichever party you vote for, you end up voting for a devil. Sure, you understand? If we have party leaders who are sincere, remove their personal interest, open, objective, and they allow those candidates.
Is that really possible in modern day Nigeria?
That is why I said, if we is a condition, we have kind of cornered ourselves to a condition whereby everybody looks out for his interest, not the interest of the majority. And when your interest is what is at play, those are the results that we get. So, an average Nigerian will always want to criticize those leaders. But put him there. You realize that is not different.
Put him there.
You realize that is not different. So until we come to a conclusion as a people that if my neighbor is not comfortable, then my comfort is threatened. That is when we begin to see the change that we need in Nigeria. The argument about the direct primaries is, oh, everybody will be involved, everybody. Well, are we not still going to have the same people that will ask at the voting point, what is in it for me? These are the electorate that you still go through, even in direct primary. And we have also had a direct primary whereby at the end of the day, the main election, the candidate did not score as many votes as they scored in the direct primaries. So what is the essence of the direct primary? Is it not the same set of people that we are still going back to for the same?
No, most cases it's not the same set too. Because
so I mean, the reality is that all these things, they look good on the surface. But when you look deep, you realize that empty. This is really not the issue.
So in this 2021, by your analysis and understanding, you concur with Mr. President for holding on his assent on this for now?
I wouldn't say I concur, but I'm saying that whether he signs it or he doesn't, I am not too expectant that it will change anything.
But the issue here is that he has not signed.
But the reality is that probably if he had signed it, we will now be talking of other issues.
Okay. So for now, we can't really raise other issues.
We can't raise other issues.
So 2021, our political administration is a little bit in the hanging until Mr. President consents to that. Well, before we now know what and what. But this electronic transmission of it also came in this year, and INEC has assured Nigerians that we have a caller from Abuja. Good luck. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good luck.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good luck. Please go ahead with your contribution. Thanks for joining us.
I want to compliment of the citizens to everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to contribute to the issue of direct primary in the studio there.
Okay, please go ahead.
I think the guests have done more to it, but I just want to add my voice to what they have said. I think if we want to talk about indirect primary and direct primary, I really want us to expatiate more on the indirect primary. You know, if you are going indirectly, these so-called politicians, they bring all kinds of names as delegates. They put them in their own hotel. Everything is under their control. But when you throw it open, it's like throwing the doors open to everybody to decide. That is the direct primary we are talking about now. It is the duty and the right of the people to choose whoever among the candidates that you bring. It is the duty of the common masses to choose whoever that will represent them. But once you throw, you keep it you put it indirectly. The governor will book a hotel and lodge everybody and decide to give them whatever you feel like. But you cannot, even if they will do it, but they will not manipulate as the way they will manipulate it indirectly. But when you throw it open, you see that the people will also have the right to choose whoever they want to represent them. So I want us in the studio to talk more of the direct primary. That's the direct primary now. Why are we seeing away from the direct primary?
Good luck. Let me quickly ask you a question. So that you also help other viewers on this topic. Now, you said direct primaries, perhaps it's tilted towards favoring the governors or something. Are you saying if it is direct primaries, the governors can still not influence the outcome?
Let me, can I? Okay, hello, sir.
Go ahead. Make it brief. Make it brief.
I want to make it brief now. I want to give you an illustration. Did you know, I don't know if any of us used to watch football.
Go ahead, because of our time.
If you watch football, if you see that if the referee is decide to blow a penalty, there is a VAR. There is a VAR that we call on the referee and say, come, this foul you are giving is not meant for foul. Come and check. You will see that there was no touches, there was no thing. And if there is a penalty and the referee refuses to give the penalty, they will not call, the VAR will call. So the direct primary is like the governors are the referee. But because of the viewers, those are the on ground there, mean the public, the common people, we decide to protect. Once you count your vote, you protect your vote there. And you see that everything is open, transparent.
All right.
But when we begin to see a way to indirect primary, the politicians, we are cooking the food for the politicians to chop.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good luck. You've made
Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being part of our. Yes. So anyway, you all had them. But what I actually intend for us to discuss. Okay, maybe we just maybe we'll just round off discussing this, because it's like a national issue that interests people. Okay. Now, we heard from what he is saying that it's all about transparency or no transparency and all of that. Direct primary, if you look at the likely costs of mobilizing people to venues and all of that, will that still not give these same governors a think they are trying to corner some advantage?
You see, we are looking at something infinitesimal. Look, if I'm going to vote, I vote for either APC, PDP, whatever, and whatever. APC, bring out their candidate.
Okay.
PDP, bring out their candidate. And I would, among the 2 or 3 of them, I'll now decide. So, whatever happens, how you brought out that your candidate, it shouldn't be my business, for goodness sake. Oh, you are going to cross-check the credible. What is credible about whatever? Is that the issue? You see, that's the point. We are looking at the minute thing of forgetting it. They will bring credible candidates. So, okay, if you have credible candidate from APC, credible candidate from PDP, credible from Labour, so what happened? Everybody is credible. So that's not the point. We are not you see, this is how they deceive us into we waste our energy discussing what is not important. APC, bring out your candidate, whether direct, indirect, or whatever. PDP, bring out, that's what they're interested in. I see your candidate is good, I'll vote for you, whether you emerge from direct candidate or indirect candidate or whatever. I don't look at it as a problem. I look at it as a time of we go into frenzy discussing things which are not really, yes. That is the point I'm saying.
Now, just let's look at 2022. 2022 politically, because since this political discussion has taken, let's just now, yes, going into 2022, what is your own expectation in our democracy?
Well, in the first instance, this amendment bill that is not signed, I would want to first of all see what will be the response of the National Assembly in the new year when they resume. Are they going to just agree with the president? Some people said they are already gathering signatures. Are they really going to gather those signatures?
They said no, they're not gathering signatures.
Gathering any signature. So, but we heard in the press that some of them said they are gathering signatures. But if they are not gathering signatures, let's see what they're going to do in the new year. I think to a large extent, effects that we're going to see in our politics or in the elections we're going to have in 2022 will be determined by the outcome of this bill. But I am seeing a situation. My expectation really is that they're going to agree with the president and we're just going to move on and do business as usual.
Okay. Anyway, since it's just a retrospect of 2021.
Can I just add one?
Okay, very briefly, because
I'm more interested. I'm not interested in the electoral bill. I'm more interested in the petroleum subsidy, which they say they are going to withdraw.
Can you imagine?
That is the core issue.
We have it on our list, but we couldn't get it. Maybe next week we'll take on. Maybe we'll take on petroleum, because that's very
crucial thing.
Anyway, that's where we're going to draw the curtain. But let me just quickly use this opportunity to send our condolences to the family of Mr. Abeokuta, the pioneer presenter of this program. Today exactly is 1 year after his death, and we pray that the Lord repose his soul wherever he is now. And to all you viewers out there, we thank you for being part of the program. And Focus Live will return next year, and I pray we shall all be there in peace and in good health. Until then, I leave you in the hands of Almighty God. Happy New Year in advance. Bye-bye. Thank you.